Hey guys, it's Jessica from Peace Love Books, and today I'm here with the second half of my August wrap-up. So this is for the last 2 weeks of August. I read 19 books, which is crazy to me because I feel like I wasn't reading anything, but I was listening to so many audiobooks now that I have commute back to work because I'm a teacher, I'm back to school, and my commute is 35 minutes there and back, so I have a lot of time to listen to audiobooks. I listen to them while I work out, while I sew. I just like listen to audiobooks all the time, and so I read a lot. Like, I only have 3 physical books to share with you that I read. The rest were ebooks and audiobooks, so I have a lot to get to, and I can't even remember a lot about this first book I read though because it was not my favorite and I just think I blocked it out. So it was Just Drop Out by J. Bree. I've heard a lot about J. Bree and I was excited, but this book takes place, the heroine is 15. She is literally was in 8th grade last year, and I could not take anything seriously. And a lot of people, I posted it on my Instagram, and a lot of people were like, oh, you know, I just like ignore it and like pretend like they're older. But I was like, that was so weird. Like, why do authors make characters younger and younger? I already have a really hard time reading adult romances about teenagers, and the fact that this one's about a 15-year-old. Nothing explicit happens with the main character, but she like sees a lot, and like there's a bet going on of who can like sleep with her first. And men are trying, not men, boys are like trying to force her into it at some points, and she's like worried that it'll happen, and I'm just like, they are literally 15, and I just couldn't keep it seriously. She also had this weird past, so like this book's about this girl who goes to like this boarding school of like all these rich people, and of course she's on scholarship, and so she's not rich, and they are all super mean to her the moment she gets there, but then she like kind of gets in with the popular people, and people hate her for no reason, but then someone's nice to her, and there's this weird plot about like she was in this like competition or something that was like violent and she had to kill people. We don't know what that is. I'm so confused. Like, who is she? Like, what was this thing she was in? We don't know. She just like mentions it once and then it's like done, and I'm like, excuse me. So I don't know. There's like the mafia involved somehow, and I still don't know. And I know it's a series, so like more will probably be answered later on. I'm not gonna finish this series. I'm not gonna continue on. It's just weird that it had to start with a 15-year-old girl. Like, make them older, please. So I think I gave this 2 stars. Yeah. Then I read The Marriage Effect by Carla Sorensen. This one's a marriage of convenience. It's Logan's story. His sisters have their own series, and I read that first. I read books 1 and 4 of that series, and then went back and read Logan's book because he does take care of his 4 sisters who are his half-sisters, and he's a lot older than them, and so he pretty much raises them, but he's a professional football player, and his brother is trying to get custody of his sisters, and he's like, no way, but his brother's like married and stable, and so he's like, well, I should probably get married to like keep my daughters, to keep my sisters. And so our heroine figures out that she has gained an inheritance from a relative, but she can't get it unless she's married. And so she is like best friends with the owner of the football team that he plays for, and they end up entering a marriage of convenience, and it was perfection. I love this book so much. 5 out of 5 stars. I really love the Ward Sister series and this book. My library only had this audiobook, so I was really excited about that, but now I want to read the previous books in the series because I think this is book 3, but my library doesn't have them. So if I want to read them, I have to read them physically, but I really want to. I love Carla Sorensen, and I want to read everything she writes. Then, I don't know why, I picked up Summer and Smoke by Coralie June. This is the second book to Sunshine and the Bullets, and I read Sunshine and the Bullets and talked about it last video for my wrap-up, and I was like, I have no interest in finishing the series. But then I saw my library had it, and I was like, why not? It might get better, because I feel like I'm too harsh on the first books in series because I expect so much of them, but the author's got to keep like some things for later on. And so this is reverse harem. They have a past, so like she was friends with all of them in high school, but only like took things physically with one of them, but not the rest of them, and then now she's like back with them, and one's like a police officer, one is part of the mafia, one's a professional fighter, and the first book was so anticlimactic to me. I was like, okay, what the heck, and the heroine made dumb decisions. And so in this one, I was like, okay, well, we have that huge cliffhanger, we figured out why she ran away, like what's gonna happen next, and it was so boring. Like, so boring, and I was just like, seriously? Like, nothing really happened in this book, and I really didn't care about anything, and it didn't give me anything I wanted, so I gave it 2 stars. Not a fan. Then, you guys probably all know how I felt about this book. I picked up It Happened One Summer by Tessa Bailey. I did a reading vlog of reading hyped books. This one's like everywhere. Everybody's obsessed with it, and I gave it 3 stars. First off, our heroine is just like a rich, spoiled, Instagram famous person, and I was like, I don't care. She gets in trouble for going to this party and breaking into this hotel and like throwing a giant party that wasn't on her property, and she gets thrown in jail. And I'm just like, I don't care. She doesn't care about money. She doesn't care about anything. And I was like, I don't have any sympathy for her. Like, why am I gonna like this character? I guess she's like based off of someone in Schitt's Creek though. I don't watch that show, so I didn't really feel any sort of attachment to her. But then her stepfather says, okay, to teach you a lesson, I'm gonna send you off to this bar that you actually own that was your father's, who died when they were little. And so her and her sister go to this bar in Washington at this like seaside town, and she meets Brendan, who is a fisherman, and they have a romance. And Brendan is very grumpy and just like hardened and in his routines, and he's just like, she breaks up his routine, and he really doesn't like her at first, but then starts to like her. And I was loving in the beginning. I really liked how they met. I really liked Brendan, but they got together way too quickly in here, and then everything was very predictable. I will say, like, it read a lot like a Hallmark movie. I feel like this would be perfect to be made into a movie, but I knew what the conflict was going to be at the end. I knew exactly how it was going to play out, and obviously we're going to be together because it's a romance, and I was just like really bored. So like for half the book, it took me like 5 days to read the second half of the book because I was so bored by the story. So I gave it 3 stars. I know everybody loves it, giving it 5 stars. They didn't mind it, was predictable. I just wasn't impressed. Then I read Pike and Pawn by T.M. Frazier. This is a duet, and it's actually a spin-off of the King series, which I absolutely love, so I was excited to see this. Pike is a guy who is in dangerous business, right? And he runs a pawn shop, and that's like a front for other things that he does. And so he's involved in like the same kind of things that King is from the King series. The beginning starts out with him finding this girl on the road, and she like obviously was in something traumatic. She like is talking to like nobody there, and she is bruised and battered, and he's like, what the heck, are you okay? Can I take you somewhere? And so he gives her a ride, and then something happens and he doesn't see her again. He's like, well, that was bizarre. And now we flash forward like a year or something, and people are breaking into his pawn shop. People are trying to like ruin his business and like have a target on him, and so he manages to kidnap one of them, and it's her. She was one of the people trying to break into his pawn shop, and so he keeps her, tortures her, and tries to figure out who she is and what her secrets are. And so it is a duet, and I gave the first book 4 stars, but the second book 3 stars. I really didn't care about the direction that everything went in the second book, and the ending felt very rushed, and I just lost interest in the characters and what they were going through. The first one I really liked all the mystery and intrigue and the secrets and like who she was and what was going on, but then the second book just didn't finish everything like I wanted to, but I really enjoyed the first one. So the romance was great too. They were obviously falling for each other, but he was like, I can't trust you, and she had secrets of her own. So like I said, I really enjoyed the first one, 4 stars, but it ended on a disappointment. Then I read Blackout. This is the compilation of short stories. So we have Danielle Clayton, Tiffany D. Jackson, Nick Stone, Angie Thomas, Ashley Woodfolk, and Nicola Yoon. I really enjoyed this. It is short stories about teens falling in love in a blackout in New York. So Tiffany D. Jackson's story is actually woven throughout, so we get like a chapter of hers between each story, so that one like flows through all of them, and then we get each other one in the romance, and then we get each other story interspersed throughout the book. I really like them. Some of them were amazing, some of them were like okay. So I gave it 4 stars. I really loved Ashley Woodfolk's story. That one was so good. And then the last one I also really enjoyed, which was by, I think it was Nicola Yoon. Yeah, I really liked Nicola Yoon's, which is no surprise. I love Nicola Yoon. And Tiffany D. Jackson's was pretty interesting, the one that was woven throughout. Like I said, Ashley Woodfolk's was just so cute, and Nicola Yoon's was a lot of fun as well. So some of these I really loved, but that's why I gave it 4 stars, because some of them really missed the mark for me, but really fun, and I'm glad I read it. And yeah, and I think this one like is so pretty underneath the dust jacket as well. I love it, and I love that they all were intertwined by their like location as a short story compilation. I think that was really cool. Then I did a reading vlog reading Bodyguard romances, which I'll link down below, but I read Heartless Hero by Mary Catherine Gebhard. This one, our heroine is part of like a really rich family in the United States, and so she needs a bodyguard, and she likes to cause a lot of trouble, and so she had this romance with this guy when she was younger, but he was like, you know, not rich, and so her family was not approving of it, and then he did something that completely betrayed her trust, and he left, and so she hates him and he hates her because he has a different viewpoint of what had happened, and now she gets a new bodyguard, and it's him, and she's angry because she hates him. He broke her heart and left and did something really awful, and then he hates her because of what he thinks happened, and he pulls like really nasty pranks on her, like really bad ones, which I wasn't the biggest fan of. I don't like it when like the hero actually like hurts the heroine and like seeks out revenge to hurt her and ruin her, but that was over pretty quickly, and then we got like the angst of them fighting their attraction, not wanting to be together, dealing with her family, and then she does need protection because she's wealthy and has a bodyguard for a reason, and I really enjoy this. I ended up giving it 4 out of 5 stars. I was pleasantly surprised because I've heard this one isn't as good as the rest of the series, but I did enjoy it and I gave it 4 stars, so I'm excited to continue on and read the second one in the series, which I've heard is the best. Then I read The Royals Next Door, which I did have a physical copy of, but I left it at my parents' house because my mom wanted to read it next. But this one is inspired by Prince Harry and Meghan and how they moved to Canada, and so this one, our heroine is an elementary school teacher, and it starts off like on the last day of school. So it's about summer, and she and her mother live in like this house that's detached from this mansion. It was like the servant's house, but her and her mother own that house now, and the mansion's been like empty for years, and the royals move in next door, and so they meet the bodyguard, and she's like, I live here, and he's like, no, you don't, show me your ID, and she doesn't have it, and it's this whole big thing, and so he's like, you don't live here, you're trying to like stalk them, blah blah blah, and it's their romance, and it's really cute because like Harrison, the bodyguard, will make excuses like to go see her. It's very slow burn, it's more like friends to lovers, and I really enjoyed it, and it's definitely more forbidden because like he's on a job and he's not gonna stay there forever because he's from the UK, and I just thought it was really, really sweet and adorable, and I gave it 4.5 stars. Then I listened to the audiobook of Love from A to Z by S.K. Ali. This one's a young adult romance, and our heroine has a very racist teacher, and she gets like fed up and ends up getting suspended, and so her parents allow her to leave early for her spring break trip, I think it was spring break, to go spend with a relative, and so she ends up going to see her relative and staying with her, and on the plane ride there, again, she like faces microaggressions because of her religion, and she meets a boy on the plane though, and he's really nice to her, and then that's gonna be her love interest. He actually has MS, and he has been keeping it a secret. He hasn't told his family because something had happened with his mom with MS, and so he's still trying to deal with that internally, emotionally, and they meet each other again, and it's their romance, and it was really sweet. I do think the audiobook was not the best way to go with this because it's so much is going on in here, there's so many characters, and I wish I had read it physically so that I could grasp who everybody was and like take my time to see like character names and how everyone was connected. But I really enjoyed how things turned out in this book, and it was a very sweet, slow romance, which was really cute, and they were both definitely dealing with their own issues and also wanting to get to know each other more, and so I enjoyed this and I gave it 4 stars. Then I read Arctic Fire by Kira Andrews. Desiree from Genki Reader recommended this because she told me that this author's audiobooks were on her library, I think, and so I went to check, and the one I wanted to, the pirate one, is not on my library, which makes me sad, but this one was, and I really love like cold Arctic love stories, so I decided to read this. It is a novella, and our one hero, it's MM, so he is in the military and something really bad had happened, and so he's trying to like get back into it, and he is sent to like scout a location in the Arctic, and the guy lives there. It might be in Canada, I don't remember, but the other guy lives there, and it's like a really small judgmental community, and so he feels like he can never be like happily in a gay relationship, and so he has just like kind of figured like he's just gonna be alone forever, and so he's the one that is showing the other guy around and helping him like scout locations and like see if they can use it as like a place for the military, and they end up having to spend a night alone because of a huge storm that came, and it was just so good. I really liked how they were both really dealing with things, especially the one in the military because of what had happened to him, and he opens up to him about what had happened to him, and I just really enjoyed the romance of obviously this like trapped together in a snowstorm, things are gonna heat up, and I liked it. So I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. It was a novella, so it was pretty short, but I think the author did a great job with the amount of time that the story took place in. Then I listened to Just Her Bodyguard. This one I listened to because I saw the author does pretty well on TikTok, so I decided to try out one of her books, and I gave this one 3 out of 5 stars. It was so boring. So our heroine's an actress, and I'm pretty sure she's an actress. She had a bodyguard, but the bodyguard's wife has cancer, and so he can't do it anymore, and so his brother decides to step in and be the bodyguard, and she has like sworn off men, and she's also fake dating her co-star, so she like really can't have a relationship, so she just wants, you know, flings, and that's it, and so her and her bodyguard decide to have a fling. Things like heat up, you know, and turn into a little more, and the conflict though is like she's supposed to be fake dating someone, so like it can't get out like that she's not that she's dating someone else, and I was just bored. So I gave it 3 out of 5 stars. It wasn't bad. It was just mediocre, and I didn't really care too much about the story by the end. Then I listened to the audiobook of Don't Kiss the Bride by Carrie Ann Cole. This book, you guys, was amazing. It's very long. I don't like listening to long audiobooks because I feel like I'm just like slogging through the story. I don't know why. I'm just like mentally, it's a mental thing. And so this one is like a 15-hour audiobook, and I usually listen to like 8 or 9 hour audiobooks. And so this was one of my favorites of the month. So our heroine, trigger warnings for an eating disorder. She was traumatized by something in the past, so she has problems with food, and she really needs help because she can't eat properly. And so our hero is a construction worker. She is 18 and he is like 32 or 34, and it's an age gap romance, and it's definitely taboo, and it's friends to lovers. So he is a construction worker. She is still a senior in high school, and she sees him like on her way to school, and like he helps her out because her car breaks down, and so they become friends, and he's just there to help her. And what happens is he figures out about what's wrong with her, and he's just like, I want to help you. Why don't we get married and you can be on my insurance? Because she does not have insurance. Her parents, there's a whole thing, and her parents don't take care of her. And so she agrees because she really, really needs help. And so they get married so that she can have health care. And they fall in love, and it's so good. It's definitely very, very slow burn because they're friends, and it's friends to lovers, and they don't see each other that way in the beginning because she's so much younger than him, but they fall in love with each other, and it is so good. So it's slow burn, friends to lovers, marriage of convenience, age gap. It is like everything I love. He is such a sweet, sweet hero to her, and it's amazing. And I love I think it was his grandparents that were in it. They were adorable, and it was just fantastic. It was so good. And obviously, like, he's like, this can't happen. Like, they both are like, this is so wrong because we have such a big age gap. Like, we're not supposed to be feeling this way, but they're just meant to be together. And I loved it. 5 out of 5 stars. Then for that Bodyguard vlog, I read Twisted Games by Anna Huang. This is book 2 in the series. This was also the Ravished by Romance pick for August, which is a book club I run with Lacey, and I really did not like book 1 in this series, so I was skeptical going into this one. It is a royal romance. It reminded me so much of the Princess Diaries 2, so know that. I gave 4 stars. I really enjoyed it. The pacing was still a little weird because in the beginning, we're thrown in when he's already been her bodyguard for like 2 years, and I feel like I missed something. It was like either one, I'm pretty sure it was 2 years, and I was like, where did that time go? Like, what happened in here? What was that development in the relationship? But the pacing was a lot better in this one than book 1. Like, I had so many issues with book 1, but in this one it was really good, and she ends up having more responsibilities as a royal than she had expected. And there is a part where she's like trying to vet through options for her marriage of someone of royal blood, and it was a lot of fun, like someone of nobility, and that's what reminded me of Princess Diaries 2, and the fact that like she doesn't want to like him and pushes him away, and it was just really good. So I gave this one 4 out of 5 stars. I'm really happy I gave the author a second chance. I don't know if I loved it enough to want to read more, because I mean, like, I gave it 4 stars, but I didn't absolutely love it, and I really didn't like book 1, so we'll see if I continue on in this series. I'm not sure, but this did go on really long too. It was over 400 pages. It was like 450 pages, which I thought was too much, but overall it was entertaining. Then I read Ravished by Amanda Quick. This one was our Historical Hellions pick for August that I run with Samantha from Books with Samantha. The live show was on her channel. I'll link that, and I'll link the other live show that was on Lacey's channel. This one was perfection. I loved it so much, to the point where I just ordered a lot of 10 Amanda Quick books on eBay. It was only $20, so it was $2 a book, and Amanda Quick's setbacks are amazing, so all the ones I got have setbacks, but this one, you guys, was literally amazing. So our hero has this really bad reputation, and he was thought to have like completely ruined this woman. So people call him like the Beast of Blackwell or something. I don't remember. The Beast of Blackthorn. So the Beast of Blackthorn Hall, and he's actually a Viscount. And so our heroine is a paleontologist, which I love scientist heroines and historicals. And so she's been exploring these caves because she wants to find fossils. And she discovers this treasure, and she's like, someone's stealing things and hiding it here, because she recognized the things like as things that belong to people. And so she calls on our hero, Gideon, and she's like, you need to help me. Like, there's something illegal going on here. And Gideon's like, okay, like, I'll figure it out, but don't get involved. Like, you're just gonna get in trouble. Like, don't get involved. Obviously she does. And then they end up having to accidentally spend the night together. So she's ruined and they have a marriage of convenience. And the thing I love about this though is that our heroine is so protective of Gideon. She lashes out to people who say bad things about him and she will protect him with her life. Like she literally like attacks someone in the middle of a ball for saying something bad to him. Like I love how loyal and protective she was of Gideon. I just loved it so much. And he just really liked her, and this one was just amazing. Like it's old, it came out in 92, but it was so easy to read. It was just like so fun. Their banter was hilarious. Their communication was amazing. Like one of my new favorite historicals of all time. You guys need to read it. Okay, so then I will just talk about the series all together. I read the series by Ivy Smoke. So we have Maid of Steel, Forged in Flames, and then I don't remember what the last one's called. Carved in Ice. So this is the Maid of Steel series, and I'm annoyed with the covers because they take place in high school. The heroine's like 18. These look like millionaire romance covers, but the premise of book one, which I'll tell you, is about a girl who is in the witness protection program because she was in foster care and something bad happened. And so now she has a new identity and she is living in New York and she is going to college, and so she wants like the normal college experience, and so she goes on a date with a guy and she kind of likes him, but then there's this like vigilante, and it's like the Arrow, right? Like Arrow the show, and he like steals things, and like so there was like a bank robbery and he like stopped it, but he took the money still, and then like later on it was found out like the money was given to people who needed like to live in their like apartments or something. They were like back rented, and like all of a sudden someone donated the money, and like obviously it was him. So she meets this vigilante and she's like, I like this vigilante, but then there's also someone from her past, so it's kind of a love square. And the heroine's ridiculous at sometimes. Like sometimes she's very clueless and she makes not the best decisions, and you're like, what is wrong with you? But I literally could not stop reading these books. So I gave books 1 and 2 4 stars, but I was pretty disappointed with the ending because she's so wishy-washy and back and forth with the guys that it got really annoying still in book 3. So I gave it 3 stars in book 3 because she was like leading one on even though she didn't really like him, and was pretty clueless about something that was really obvious from the start. So I give the last book 3 stars, but the first 2 I gave 4 stars, and they do end on cliffhangers that I was just like, what's gonna happen next? So these were very addicting and I'm excited I read them. I listened to the audiobooks and they were great. The last book I read is Cinderellas Dead by Kaylin Bayron. This one is a fantasy Cinderella twist, and it made me miss YA fantasy so much, and I really want to read more YA fantasies. So this is Sapphic, and our heroine is in love with a girl in the village, but their society is like pushed to be obsessed with the story of Cinderella. Like they constantly have to read the story, and their goal in life is like to go to the ball and find a suitor and get married. And so the king like pushes the story on everybody. He requires everyone to come to the ball, get married, and if you don't, you're like shipped off to the palace and never seen again. And so our heroine does not want to be a part of this because she doesn't want to marry a man. She's trying to like find a way to escape or run away, and then crazy things happen, and yes, that's all I'll say. And I really enjoyed this one. I did give it 4 out of 5 stars because I think like some things were a little rushed, especially at the end, and dragged a little bit in the middle, so like it was a little pacing that was off, but I thought it was a lot of fun, this twist on Cinderella and what she went through to try to change this kind of society and what has happened to the village and figure out the truth behind Cinderella's story and the people she meets, and it was pretty action-packed in the end, so I thought it was a lot of fun. So I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. I'm really excited I read it. I'm excited to read more by this author. Young Adult Fantasy. I need more. And those are all the books that I read in the second half of August. Make sure you check out my first half video and let me know what you read in August or what your favorites were and what books that I've read that you enjoyed. I'd love to hear. As always, thank you so much for watching and have a good day. Bye.